We know that the proxies that came in from, Uganda, they already speak Farsi. And of course, there's been some discussion that proxies in Nigeria are connected to the Islamic regime. And I was curious if anybody knew if that was true and also if they had names. I've been trying to research this and for my project, and I just wanted to make sure that I was on the right track. Oh, and
Right.
also Algeria. Those three countries.
Yeah, so I don't know their names, but I have seen for many years the Islamic Republic bragging about the uh, madrasas, mosques, and the loyal support base that it has in Africa, and feeding into it and growing it. In many African countries, like I've seen them in Nigeria, they have their own loyal base there. Um, so in and so I haven't gone into the details of seeing in which country what that group is called. I remember there was one very important imam in Nigeria that was loyal to Ali Khamenei. It was on the news a couple of years ago, and we covered it on our channel.
Right.
And they had their own. But so the names that I of the group of the proxy groups of the Islamic Republic that I'm familiar with are mostly the ones in the Middle East and in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So Zainabiyun, Fatimiyun, Hashishabi, Katoeb. I mean, obviously the most
Right.
famous of them being Hezbollah. Um, so I don't know the names of different groups. I'm sure it's easy to find them with AI. Um, I, the,
It really isn't as easy. That's what I thought too, and
really,
I mean, because we know that the regime is, basically, well, as of a few months ago anyway, has its tentacles, if you will, in like almost 41 countries.
right.
But and I do know that Africa, of course, tends to be overlooked because, it's Africa. And I kind of think that that's probably going to really be a mistake in the future. That's why I was just curious. But yeah, I did look up on AI. I've used a couple different, and I have not been able to confirm any concrete answers.
I'm
But
glad that you're bringing attention to this because the very reason why people overlook Africa is the very reason why it's going to be is works for ISIS, Al Qaeda, and the Islamic Republic, right? The
mhm,
instability there and the poverty there makes it the best place to spend very little money and recruit from, and also
absolutely
yes, and also failed states are the best place to establish your own. I mean, Al Qaeda just took over, like, I mean, almost took over Mali, right? Mali, like, I mean, we used to associate the name ISIS to establishing a state. We didn't associate the word Al Qaeda to establish one state, but apparently now they have a country. I think Mali is now the first country that has fallen completely, almost completely, into the hands of Al Qaeda. It's interesting that people are not talking about it because Al Qaeda, like, what, after 9/11, Al Qaeda was so big, and now we have an entire country that has fallen to the group that did 9/11, and it doesn't get that much attention, right? So that's pretty crazy that that's happening. And eventually, it's not going to stay in Africa. Like, all of this is going to eventually come to Europe. Um, but for the
right.
Islamic Republic, the Africa strategy is not just about establishing. So there are multiple benefits to creating. So this they're competing, by the way, against against ISIS and Al Qaeda in Africa, right? Because
Mhm.
most Muslims are Sunni, ISIS and Al Qaeda have an easier time with brand recognition so franchising their branding is easier because everybody is like Sunni. So, but the Islamic Republic tries to uh, convert people to Shia and then convert the Shias loyal to the Vilayat Faqih version of Ethno Ashari Shia Islam in Tehran and Qom. And this has three benefits. First of all, it's easy because it's cheap. It's easy to get people on your side with very little money. But the first benefit is that it's leverage when you can when you because United States is trying to maintain stability in Africa, so is European countries. China is trying to really aggressively is trying to make moves in Africa. So if you have agents and forces there that could cause lack of stability, then the great powers in Africa would need to make deals with you to stop the instability. So that gives you leverage. That's the one benefit. Two, if you have Shia communities in Africa that you could influence the politics of these countries, it's a cheapest way for you to have a higher standing in international affairs, because the news might not care about Africa, but in the United Nations, like every vote of every country is counts, right? So with very little money, if you could influence the politics of African countries, all of a sudden you have more votes in the United Nations, and that's a international politically. So at least on an international level, people try to pretend that every country has an equal vote. So that would give legitimacy to the Islamic Republic and how what positions they want the world to take because of the votes that they have. But most importantly to us Iranian people, as we mentioned, is that uh, as soon as there's a Shia population there growing, after years of investments, they try to bring them to Iran, especially the women. You know, the video I showed you,
Yeah.
you see there was a lot of African women because they want to have Shia babies, right? They bring them there to make Shia babies inside Iran to replace us Iranian people with Shia babies from Africa.
What
Which,
kind of
by the way,
worries me.
yeah,
Go
go
ahead. I'm
on.
sorry.
No, you go
Well,
ahead.
I guess the only reason why I brought it up, obviously, everything that you're talking about are extremely important points. But I think that we may see a similar situation in Africa as we have seen in Central America and South America, because we're talking about very porous borders, and on borders that, I mean, they're basically open and no one's really watching these countries. And then all of a sudden, like what we've seen in South America and Central America, you know, they or the regime, and some of the proxies are actually working hand in hand with the cartel. And I just think that this could be a nightmare internationally, especially with, like you said, NATO, etc. But I mean, just the fact, look at Spain taking in, what was it, 500,000, immigrants on boats from Africa. I mean, who knows where they're coming from? But anyway, it was just something that I was really curious if you knew, and I guess I'll just continue to research it.
Let me tell you also how this is going to play, that the Islamic Republic is going to play right into it with and take full advantage of it when it comes to uh, propaganda in the West using the left. Okay. Because when you have migration from Africa and Afghanistan and Pakistan at this scale into Iran and Iraq, that inevitably is going to cause racism, right? You know, people are going to not, it's a natural thing that happens in response to mass migration, and the Islamic Republic wants to encourage racism, wants to bring like people with black skin at a higher scale into Iran, praising the supreme leader, and then try to get race actual, like not just, oh, this is, oh, not just responses about like, well, I mean, we're not against Africans, this is just not their country, this is about the ideology, not the race. At some point when it's natural for, I'm not, when I say natural, it doesn't mean good, but it's just natural, it's just inevitable. When you see people who are not the same as you coming at a large scale into your country to replace you, you're going to see so much commentary um against those people as a whole. Okay, especially if their skin color is different, right? And I'm not saying most Iranians will do that, but there will be responses like that, obviously. And the Islamic Republic is going to pick that as a way to show its opposition as racist and show that Islam doesn't care about race. Like, look at the people who are against these Shias are racist, but Islam is above race. Okay. We don't care if you are black, white, I don't know, whatever. This is the superiority of Islam that fights racism. It goes above race and sees the character of the people rather than the color of their skin, and it's going to go try to then sell this to leftists in in the West and say, look at these opposition, look at these monarchists, look at these fascist anti-regime people. They try to act like we are evil and demonic, but we are welcoming people of all races and all ethnicities from the world into our country, just like you are, just like a leftist idea with like, oh, we should be welcoming to people and the people. So that's our ideology, and our opposition is you being racist towards people from Afghanistan, being racist people from Africa, and that's what they stand for. So I could already see the Islamic Republic trying to take advantage of the inevitable, they encourage the racism so that they could capture the racism and then demonstrate use that as propaganda against their own opposition. So just wait for that to happen.
And I just ask one more question, then I promise I'll shut up.
No, please,
um,
you bring up so many good points. Don't shut up. But yeah, go on.
what I'm really curious about too is considering this from an American point of view. We all know that we have issues right now, with Islamic, problems like in New York City, in Texas, North Carolina, Minnesota. And I kind of wonder if another strategy of incorporating, proxies from Africa would be radicalization of African Americans.
Wait, say that again because I think that has already happened before, if I understand you correctly.
Well, I mean, I,
Yeah.
I I know it's happened before, but I wonder if there would be an increase
Mm-hmm.
in radicalization of African Americans through the influence of
Yes.
proxies from Africa,
Right.
um, because we're already seeing this Islamic penetration, infiltration in various American cities and states right now. What are your
Okay. Yeah.
thoughts?
So far, what I've seen is the Islamic Republic pretending to care about and racism against black people in America, saying going there and saying that America is an oppressive, a racist country, and the black people there need saving, and pretending that it's also part of the solution to save black people in America. So there's that. I don't know if you
Mhm.
anybody has seen that. But I haven't seen them. Um, I haven't seen them that being connected to Africans in Africa that influencing African Americans. So I haven't seen that yet. But I mean, I don't know. They might try that actually. We might be giving them ideas. And now that you, now that I think about it, but yeah, if I was the Islamic Republic, I would be not just bringing the Shia population, Shia pro-regime population that I've developed in Africa. You know what? I wouldn't be just bringing them to Iran to replace the Iranian people. I would actually be interested in helping them migrate to United States as well. That might not be a bad strategy for the Islamic Republic, actually. Yes, so PT saying
Thank
don't
you.
stop giving them ideas.
All
Yeah,
right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. I will
that's
now
like,
be quiet. Thank you.
no, no. Thank you, Aldo.
The damage is done, Armin. God.
It's out
Um,
there.
I know it's already out there. Imagine valuing a race so little that your plan is to bring them in to breed.
Yeah.
Hello, the fuck. Hello. But all
Like
right.
farm animals.
But
Like
all
farm
right.
animals. Yeah.
We also saw some of that. I mean, a very quick response after October 7th was BLM with T-shirts of certain areas. I know they have different kind of, it's not like they all have one priest, but with paragliders on their T-shirts talking about resistance. I mean, that was huge. So there's already an infiltration there with at least Palestinian ideology connected to this idea of Black suffering and taking down the US. Interestingly, the IRGC hasn't done anything in regard to a solution, but they would love to tell a little secret that rips everybody apart, which is just very leftist of them. Okay, the response list. First, we have Sketch.
Yes, I have my AI trained to parse out things that aren't like more data driven. I found some networks here. One is MIN, Islamic Movement in Nigeria. This is a very high degree of certainty. that Iran supported schools teaching Persian in Nigeria. It is a Shia movement, pro Khomeini, so Nigeria would be one of those places. Al-Mustafa International University. This is in, let me see, Al-Mustafa used IRGC recruitment and indoctrination. And this is probably what they're speaking of here is a university network that, you know how these things spread through universities here. Apparently, they're trying to fund universities, and through those universities, spread the ideology. They have 17 branches and 100 centers in schools, mosque institutes in 30 countries. So this would be one of those Shia-centered uh, places of propaganda and recruitment and, community infiltration. There is some of these groups don't have a separate name. It'd be like Hezbollah of West Africa or this type of thing. They have a movement there. Lebanese Hezbollah has a partnership in West Africa. I'm just going down the list. Sudanese armed forces are also involved with the Shias. Al Shabaab via the Houthi channel in Uganda and Senegal, and Chad. In Chad, they also have some links to this type of funding. I would try to trace through the universities. This Al Mustafa International University with 17 branches, 100 center schools and mosques in 30 countries. That would be my first source for finding the network. I'm going to put the link. This is from the State Department, from the Treasury. I'm sorry, this is from the Treasury. I'm going to put the link from the U.S. Treasury here. So anybody trying to look for information on this, Helga, if I am of any of assistance, it's a pleasure to be of service. As far as using Black people in unison to Muslims against white people, this might backfire in the sense that once Black people start really looking at the roots, they're going to say that most of Black slavery was in the later portions. Once Black people stopped being sold by Black people on the Ivory Coast, what has continued it up until this day is Islam. Islam was one of the largest propagators and institutors of slavery. They still believe in slavery. They still put it in the laws today. So that could literally backfire if a larger section of the Black community, because there's sections of the Black community that are very communist oriented, and they are very much grifters who pretend to be communists, but they're capitalists, right? All they want is that funding money. All they want is that NGO money. They don't really care about any cause. They care about themselves. But there is a section, contrarian, that no matter what the big narrative is on the left or the right, they want to take another route. And it's a large segment. And if they want to take another route, what they're going to start pointing out is that it's Islam that enslaves a lot of Black people, and that there is within Islam, like you might not see racism in most Iranians, but you might find it in the very Islamic religious ones. You understand what I'm saying? Islam has a tendency towards racism in some areas.
Can I put my Muslim hat on and respond to that, Sketch?
Of course, I would appreciate it.
Okay. There's nothing racist with slavery in Islam, because we have no problem enslaving white people as well. So thank you very much. We're inclusive with our racism. There you go. No, we're inclusive with our slavery.
I have seen many report that was also like preferred in some occasions.
Yes.
Especially
Oh,
in the
actually,
conquest
Sketch, this is a comeback. That's a very good point. Sketch is like, yes, Islam historically has enslaved white people and sold white people, and here's the racism. White people sell for more. Historically, white people have always sold for more in the slave market than Black people. So there's the racism, especially white women.
I have seen horrifying videos of the people. This is Twitter videos, and they're saying, "I want to buy a Yazidi light skin," and this type of thing, that they would pay more for that. So
Yes.
it's not only historically true; it moves on into the current era. But they're not beyond going for every color, like you said. They're very inclusive in their slavery. So speaking of slavery, too much in America could backfire. because they're always trying to one up each other. And no, I know more history than you, and that could start a spiral that goes against this type of immigration. Thank you very much.
Also, Quran is colorist. Okay, Quran, for example, explains that the women in heaven, the huris, the angels that you're supposed to have sex with, are so beautiful that the skins are not just white but transparent, and it describes that it's so transparent that you could see their bones. You can see their bones, and it says that as if that's a no. So apparently that's sexy that you could see, like, it's so obsessed with white skin that it exaggerates and says, like, forget white, these bitches be transparent. It explains that you can see their bones. Yeah, apparently that's a good thing. I don't know, but yeah, who's next?
Today is just starting off so special. Next we have Jose.
Hello, Helda. I want to correct something that you said there. There's about 630 people being given residency status in Spain. Over 500,000 of them came in from South America. These are people that have come into Spain with visas that have now expired and they're still there. The other number is the iffy number. I do believe they might be from Morocco, but also Spain has three cities and an island in north of Spain, right around Gibraltar area, that are Spanish territories, Spanish citizenship, and that kind of stuff. And they've also come up. So it's an iffy situation. It's a very confused situation in Spain. The number of total Muslims that have come up over the years might be 500,000. Okay. But the ones that are being brought in like this, with this law that passed, they have to speak Spanish. They have to be of Spanish descent, blah, 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 things that are not being reported in the news. One. Okay. Second, by the way, you're doing great work with that research. It needs to be done. No, I think that's going to be it, because between Sketch and Armin, they put out all the other points that are necessary on it. And I'm glad someone mentioned the fact that there was a white slave trade too.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Jeffrey.
Yeah, that was like a super cool topic. It's really poignant. Well done. Well done, Doc. So as far as the JNIM, they're one of the biggest under the radar kind of stories right now. Al-Qaeda's main Africa arm, which is the JNIM, don't ask me to say their name. I don't speak. Who gives a crapistanian? Is operating with significant territorial, like daylight territorial control across Sahel and especially Mali, as Armin very aptly mentioned, and Noah referenced how Western withdrawal, particularly France, created a power vacuum that they took advantage of, right? So the JNIM kind of controls vast rural and semi-urban zones in the northern, central, and pretty much all of Mali. They've imposed like effective blockades. What's going on? You have a lot of insecurity flows. I'm going to tie this into what, like, the idea of weaponized immigration, because Doc brought up two very good points. You have all these insecurity flows coming out of there, right? So you have like insecurity flows going into Niger, into Benin and Togo and the Ivory Coast and all this other stuff. So how do they hold territory in the light of day, which is actually something Al-Qaeda was not able to do? I mean, Al-Qaeda was a terrorist organization. Then ISIS actually held territory in the light of day because they're actually far more sophisticated. ISIL, you had Dabiq and all this other shit. Now Al-Qaeda's descendants have learned from that. So they have they're doing like local deals with communities and ethnic ties and economic warfare, blockade and taxing, much like the IRGC, right? Douchebag's going to douchebag. They avoid mass alienating civilians where possible because they're trying to build up their power base. They have about 6,000 fighters. They use IEDs, drones. They're showing increasing sophistication, right? Competitive adaptation, guerrilla tactics, all this other stuff. So when it comes to operational ties between say, domestic extremist elements like the Nation of Islam, Islamic terrorists, Al-Qaeda, destabilization, migration kind of efforts. So direct ties between, say, Nation of Islam, I'm just going to use them as like a case study because they actually have organization operational ties with the Mullah regime. Direct ties between the Nation of Islam and Al-Qaeda is pretty fucking weak. There's a lot of rhetoric that they use to support each other as far as broader Islamist links, and this actually is what Armin touched on. There's a lot of, beyond rhetorical, there's organizational and operational ties that center on financial and diplomatic ties to regime sponsors of Shia-aligned actors. Farrakhan has actually visited Mullah-occupied Iran numerous times. He's met with leaders like Khomeini and Rouhani and praised figures like Salami head Soleimani, and received loans from Muammar Gaddafi and all these other douchebags. In fact, the Nation of Islam has the fruit of Islam. It's like they're more kinetically inclined military arm of their organization. So as far as like Al-Qaeda and jihadist use of migration, it's very clear there are real concerns around jihadist exploitation of migration, porous borders, and ideological outreach to disaffected communities, some including some U.S. Muslim populations. There's a reason that AFRICOM has actually mentioned that this is something we need to get a hand on. I think that's, that's actually I'm very happy that Halat, Doc H, and Armin brought up the point, and Armin actually mentioned what he did. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Shauna, are you still with us?
That always
I
sounds
don't-
like we're asking her if she's still alive. But apparently
I'd
not.
like to know.
Get the lady who's getting a migraine.
Okay. Armin,
Is y'all-
you are next. And we'll finish off with super chats.
Okay. So first, I found the hadith. So sorry, I said Quran. It's actually the hadith that tells you about the transparent woman. So I'm going to read it in full, and then I also want to talk about George Floyd and how that's related to the Islamic Republic. Okay. All right. So here's the hadith talking about a transparent woman in heaven being, and this is a Sahih hadith. This is Sahih Al-Bukhari 3245 and also Sahih Muslim. So the two highest authority hadiths in Islam, which means they are under Sahih, which means that they have the highest authority when it comes to the saying of, Prophet Muhammad, right? So the Sahih Muslim is 2834. So this is what it says. The Prophet said, when it said the Prophet means Muhammad, the first batch of people who will enter paradise will be glittering like the full moon, and the batch next to them will be glittering like the most brilliant star in the sky. Their hearts will be as if the heart of a single man, for they will have neither enmity nor jealousy amongst themselves. Everyone will have two wives from the Houris, who will be so beautiful, pure, and transparent that the marrow of the bones of their legs will be seen through the bone and the flesh. Let me read that part one more time. Okay. Everyone will have two wives from the Houris, meaning angels, sex slave angels in heaven, the Houris, who will be so beautiful, pure, and transparent that the marrow of the bones of their legs will be seen through the bones and the flesh. Very sexy. Very sexy. Oh my God. I'm just getting horny thinking about that. So that was that. That was that. Oh my God. Okay. And then we have this, marrow, bone marrow. We're talking about bone marrow. So the obsession with white skin has become so high that they went to transparent to the point that you can see the bone marrow. Okay. You can't compete with that, guys. This is like unrealistic expectations for our children. Okay. So we have George Floyd. So so the Islamic Republic also using the racial tensions in the United States to their advantage. When the George Floyd when the thing happened, they came out and condemned it, Even the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei came out, and other officials denounced the US government, claiming the event revealed America's true face, which is weird because there seem to be more obsessed with, like, it's so like, this is a regime that was at the time executing people for being against the regime while saying this, which is, the hypocrisy is crazy. Saying, and also we have to keep in mind that, I mean, I don't want to start a, derail the discussion, but I don't think the cop did anything wrong, to be honest, right? He was just doing what his training was supposed to, was told him to do. And George Floyd was turned into it as saint person, as like he was a criminal and he was on drugs. So I don't know why people turned him into a saint. But so the supreme leader, and yeah, so they said this is America's true face. Human rights advocates noted that the regime's concern was highly opportunistic and hypocritical. The Iranian government utilized the US unrest as propaganda tool to deflect international criticism away from its own long history of violently suppressing peaceful protests and oppressing ethnic minorities. And then in 2026, the regime that pushed this 2020 messaging. Yeah, I'm not gonna. So then it goes to its records and everything. But they constantly mention this. So one thing that we see the pro regime people constantly post on social media that I see often is, let's pray for George Floyd, like in remembrance of George Floyd, like. And this is and another thing that is now trending among comments for pro-regime people is, let's pray for the children of Epstein Island in remembrance of. So the whole Epstein Island situation is now their favorite propaganda against the United States. So they pretend, the Islamic Republic likes to pretend that they're fighting for the oppressed people of the world, including George Floyd, including children of the Epstein Island. This is their favorite thing that they like to do. Anyway, so just wanted to let you guys know. And I'm gonna see if anybody in the chat got really angry with me over my comments with George Floyd, because I think sometimes when I mention that, people get really angry. But do you guys agree with me in the chat? I want to just see if I caused a lot of. Anyway, let me go to the super chats really quickly. Fleshy Interloper gave us a super chat saying, "Is Trump forcing the Arabs to buy a seat at the table?" Trump is forcing the Arabs to. He's basically using the threat of the Islamic Republic, and how much he provides security for the Arab countries against the Islamic Republic. He's using that as a way to renegotiate the arrangement that United States has with these Arab countries when it comes to providing security to them. And he wants more from these Arab countries, reminding them, using the Islamic Republic as a way to remind them how much they rely on the United States for their security, and how they need to be more contributing more to what the United States wants, including recognizing Israel's dominance over the region and getting under its security umbrella, which is what we require for United States to be able to free up more of its resources from the Middle East to focus on the Dondro Doctrine and also on China. And thank you for the super chat, Fleshy Interloper. And then we have Robert. Thank you so much for the super chat saying, Javid Shah, what targets does the group purpose? Does the group purpose? I think you mean propose. Yeah, that our military could hit. Propose, I think. Yeah. What targets does the group propose that our military could hit? Also, we love you in Chicago, and also in quotations, number one. Thank you so much, Robert. Yes, you're always number one. We will never forget that. First person who got honorary Iranian citizenship. Guys, people in the chat, what do you guys propose military targets for United States once we go back to kinetic? Does anybody? We know what we'll see. Okay, so let's Jeffrey really short, and then we'll go to the next super chat. Jeffrey and Noah only, no more, no one else. Jeffrey.
So as far as targets would be concerned, it should be all of the different asymmetric elements in the Strait of Hormuz, all of the IRGC, Mullah regime remnants, and besieged leadership down to the lieutenants, all of the Mullah regime remnants is conventional military forces, so every tank, APC, towed artillery, and or helicopters, that should be our targets.
Okay, fantastic. Noah?
Any depots that are left that haven't been struck, and also I would say whatever Jeffrey also said. So yes.
Okay, just not Pezeshkian, because I wanna see him upset. I want to see Pezeshkian upset. Okay, just leave him, please. One person for us people. Okay. And let's go to Ida. Thank you so much for the super chat. Ida saying, Armin, please tell Jeffrey to stop eating his fingers. Jeffrey, this is for you. Otherwise, I have to send him food. Okay, well, I mean, I don't think that's gonna work either. If you're gonna send him food, if he continues eating his fingers, like I would, like Jeffrey, I encourage you to continue eating your fingers because you're gonna get free food. And then Ida also saying, "Love you guys, thank you, Ida, love you back, thank you so much." Okay, and Ida is right here, by the way. Okay, okay. And then we have Freshy Interloper saying, "Where is the Africa information?" Oh yeah, Sketch. Do you have anything that I could share with the people in the YouTube chat? And thank you. If Sketch shares that with me, I'll send it over.
You are,
And
I'm sorry, excuse me. I was chatting on the side. Can you ask again, please?
yeah. Where is all the Africa information that you gave us regarding these groups? Like, where can we find that?
Okay, I got it from the first link I got. Let me see if I got it here.
So actually,
This is the university. This is one that's doing the most propagation of this. So this would be like my number one go-to, because these people are getting into 30 country and they have like 100 centers, right? So this is from the treasury.gov, and that's one of the places. I'm going to put some more links. I'm going to mute myself so you can continue the show and all this, but I'm going to start putting the links in on my sources, okay?
okay. I put the link in the chat for people who are interested. And thank you so much. I'll also highlight it for other people who might watch this later. And then we have Sarah with the super chat saying, "My skin is very white." Don't say, there might be Muslims around. Saying, "My skin is very white, especially in the sun, but no one has ever wanted to have okay, sex with me because of it. If anything, it's a turn off." I don't know why are you making me read that, Sarah? Okay. Okay. Okay, by the way, Sarah, you're imagining that it's a turn off. Okay, don't think that. Okay, I'm sure you look, but don't say that in front of, too often in front of Muslims. Okay. Okay. Oh, we might get in trouble for saying that. Okay, YouTube, this is just a joke. We're just joking. Please do not strike us down. Thank you so much. And Sarah, that was funny. Dominic with the super chat saying, "Does IRGC want pan-Arab caliphate?" I forgot. No, pan-Arab, not at all. They want not even Sunni is Islamic Arabs want a pan-Arab caliphate. They want a pan-Islamist caliphate. Okay, so the IRGC is not at all trying to create anything pan-Arab. They're trying to create a pan-Shia and not a caliphate, an imamate. Caliphate is for Sunnis. So not pan-Arab, not pan-Arab, not pan-Sunni, pan-Shia, and not a caliphate, an imamate. A caliphate is Sunni. The Shia version of a caliphate is an imamate. So you have the ummah. Both of them refer to the Muslim population as an ummah, but the head of the ummah from a Sunni perspective should be a caliphate. From a Shia perspective, it should be an imamate. So pan-Shia imamate. And thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the question. Good question, by the way. My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.